Just wait a minute. She speaks English? My now best friend told me that this is what went through her mind when I first introduced myself to her. She assumed that I did not speak English because I do not look stereotypically American. That assumption almost cost her one of the coolest people in her life. So after that awkward start, how did we become best friends? The most beautiful values of the liberal arts education is its ability to nurture curiosity. Liberal arts students take a wide variety of courses that expose them to a broader base of knowledge with different views. From practicing the value of this education, my friend and I learned to jump out of our comfort zones and to ask a lot of questions, a lot of good, difficult, and brave questions. Without questioning the background of one another, we would not be united, but divided. Tonight, I am here to argue that our differences don't divide us, it is our assumptions that divide us. Within a liberal arts education, we are encouraged to challenge our assumptions by asking many questions. Not just any type of question, but more importantly, these three powerful types of questions: curious, critical, and courageous questions. The biggest discoveries humans have made were inspired by curiosity. Newton was so curious about why an apple fell on his head that he theorized gravity. A 2013 survey of mothers in the UK revealed that children can ask an average of 300 questions a day. Humanity is born to be curious and is always thirsty for answers. Asking questions, especially curious and intensive questions, helps us to understand not only our personal view, but also many other sides of the story. Juniata students can't forget the most memorable icebreaker at the beginning of our freshman year, Inbound. Once I thought Inbound was a kindergarten for adults. Then I realized that Inbound was the beginning of my liberal arts journey. Although strangers, we ask intensive questions motivated by curiosity, such as where you from, why you here, what is your background, what are your beliefs? We did this to recognize our differences and similarities and to realize how big and diverse our world is. Though it all starts with curiosity, it doesn't just end with curiosity, but grows into critical thought. From recognizing our differences, we can use critical questions to challenge and accept, but not ignore our differences. We don't ask just for the sake of asking. We ask with purpose. My grumpy professor, Dr. Nangas, once asked me, "What are you Vietnamese people doing here? You are supposed to hate us." I grew up in a military family in a communist country, Vietnam, and my grandfather fought in the Vietnam War against the U.S. Army. When I first came to America, alone, I was very scared. I was afraid that no one would talk to me, that everyone would hate me because of the bloody trauma of the Vietnam War. However, my fear soon disappeared because Nangas would not stop asking questions. This winter, I had the opportunity to take him and 17 students to Vietnam so they could ask even more questions about me and my country. I remember exactly one of the questions a student in the group had from my grandpa. "How can I reconcile what my country has done to yours?" They asked not only in a curious, but also in a critical way. They didn't want to stereotype me or separate me from the group, but wanted to recognize and understand me. And that is one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. Curious and critical questions are important, but the final transformative layer of questioning is the courageous question, which encourages us to cherish instead of fear our differences. These are the questions we must ask ourselves. America is a united nation, not a divided nation, because America is the home of the brave. Brave people ask courageous questions. We tend to forget to question ourselves and our own beliefs as we mistakenly think that they are just obvious. My grandpa witnessed many of his friends dying in battles from American bombs. Since I was small, I have heard him screaming in his sleep at night from flashbacks of the war. But that same man once told me that the best way to reconcile is to reconcile with yourself, to ask yourself questions with empathy. He said, "The past I shared with America is not your past, but the present you share with America is our future of unity." That man is the reason why I came to the US, to study and to ask. Courageous questions require self-reflection and empathy. It is how we critically evaluate society's differences and our own individual values. After this year's elections, the Spurs basketball coach, Greg Popovich, said, "I'm a rich white guy, and I'm sick to my stomach thinking about it. I can't imagine being a Muslim right now, or a woman, or an African American, a Hispanic, a handicapped person. How disenfranchised they might feel." He did it. He questioned his own identity with courage to empathize with people who aren't like him. And this is an example of how courageous questions are the key component to open someone's mind, and they open their heart to break the divide in our society. Tonight I proved that I do speak English. And guess what? The person who assumed that I didn't speak English and the one who asked my grandpa how can she reconcile what America has done to Vietnam are the same person. The one who didn't mistake vulnerability for weakness and turn her assumptions into curious, critical, and courageous questions is the one I'm now so proud to call my very best friend. Voltaire, the French philosopher, once said, "Judge a man by his questions rather than by his answers." Tonight, I argued for the power of question. Juniata's heart of civic engagement has brought so many people into my life that I could never say thank you enough. It has helped me meet many strangers across this nation and around the world who love to ask questions. Questions transform us from strangers and from different groups into friends and family. No matter where I go, the liberal arts values will always be with me. They remind me in any action I make that the enemy that divides us is our assumptions, not our differences. And the only way to challenge assumptions is to ask with curious, critical, and courageous spirit, to climb over any wall that separates us from all the cool people we love, or more importantly, separates us from the cool strangers we could love.